win a
Way
keg
to be engaged.
from Great Burn and a kegerator from Fred's Appliance. And now the time to see if we can't find ourselves a winner. So let's see. Let's give a little call here out there. We've got the number pulled. It's a random number out of a random number generator. Hello, who's this?
This is Shane.
Shane, do you like beer?
Yeah.
Did you attempt via text message to win a keg and a kegerator from Tutel and Nuanez?
I mean, I might need it come Sunday.
Shane, congratulations, my friend. It's Ryan Tutel and Colton Nuanez. You are the big winner of the keg and kegerator giveaway from Fred's Appliance and the Great Burn Brewery.
So, when are we sharing this thing?
I mean, you tell me.
He's been listening.
He's been
He's been
prepping.
listening. I love it. That's all I wanted was for somebody to invite me over to share the keg. It's too good. You might need it on Sunday. How come? Are you expecting your college team to lose on Saturday, or what are you going to need it for? You need a party? What's going on?
Well, one of us is going to need it, me or Ryan.
Oh,
I'm a Panther fan.
are you a Carolina guy? That's what's going on. Oh, man.
Are you from there? Or how do you become a Panthers fan in Montana?
You make decisions when you're 8 years old.
That's
or 10
right.
Years old. Whenever
That's so funny because I know some Panthers fans and some Jaguars fans in Montana. They were like, "Well, these teams are new. Cool. I'm on the bandwagon. I'm in."
Great colors.
Because it was a Denver, Seattle, and that's still a few states away.
Well, Shane, I'll tell you what, we appreciate you participating in this thing. We are happy that you've won it, particularly where, of course, we're going to come and overrun your home now and just take over for probably this. And who knows? I mean, a whole keg, it might even last us into the next weekend, you know?
Culture might need some, too. Who knows?
Shane, that's fantastic. Well, congratulations, my man.
Thank you guys very much.
You bet. Shane, winning the keg and kegerator. What a deal.
Cool customer.
Yeah. He was like,
we forgot to ask him if he has a wife and or girlfriend. Only just because if we really are going to descend upon his home, warning signs.
It's interesting because, I realize that there's a lot of families out there, a lot of, married couples, whatever it might be, that like a little heads up if people are coming over.
That's why you guys are the greatest.
It's
actually annoying to you that people want to ask you to come over, right? You just want to just come over.
Just the door's not locked. Actually, it probably is locked because Kai got up there and did the thing because he's excited about playing with the latch now. But they will unlock it for you. Yeah, I mean, it didn't occur to me that you should call somebody before you went over their house till I was well into my 30s. It's crazy. I was just like, hey, aren't we friends? I can't just show up. I don't know. All right. Anyway, come over to my house. It's open. It's open, and I'll go to Shane's house. He said we could come, and we'll just see what the deal is. I got one for you, Coulter. You ready for this? Just briefly, quick. Can I do a quick? What should I do here?
Yes.
Okay. So I received an invitation to a birthday party via email, and it's one of the you can do these electronic grams now. With the requests and the RSVPs and so on and so forth. I won't say the names of the people, but it's only the first name of the individual whose party it is, and this person and their spouse, and it is a meaning of life themed birthday party, which I am all about it. I mean, I think this is a grand idea. I love this. Okay, and so you're supposed to bring like an object or a story, or you could do a performance or probably sing a song, whatever, something revolving around the meaning of life for this birthday. I don't know who this is. I may know who it is, but without the last names, I'm not sure that I know who it is because these are not uncommon names, okay, that are here. The address is in there. It wants an RSVP. And I have very strongly considered, maybe I just go. Maybe I just write a little essay on the meaning of life and go to the party because there's a chance, A, that it was sent to the wrong address somehow. Or, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know how it came across. You can't, because it's generated from the site, it's not like I can check the email either of the thing. Do you think I should go? Do you think I should load Tina up and just walk up to the front door and walk in?
Well, I mean, I think it'd be I don't think you're going to show up to a party where you don't know whose it is. I think it'll be very apparent whose party it is as soon as you get there, and they'll be probably thrilled that you came.
You know, what I would love is...
It would be hilarious if it was just a stranger.
It'd be great if I didn't know. If I did not know who this person... Hey, this is my email. I got proof. I've been invited to this.
You better cue that email up beforehand. So
I'll have the printed out deal.
So they don't think that Mr. Found His Clothes on the Road is just bringing his 3 children to the free pizza party.
Oh, I'm bringing the kids. You know, if I went through the headache of writing an essay about the meaning of life, you're feeding my children for sure. That's going to happen. It's Friday. It's time for the chick who doesn't know sports. Her name's Carolyn. She's going to talk to us, right now.
Do you know what's at stake after a car accident? Not only will you have to deal with pushy insurance companies, auto repair shops, endless doctor's appointments, and dozens of unforeseen problems, but also your normal day-to-day life. I'm Coulter here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys, and she knows how hard this can be.
That's right. And with all of that, it can seem tempting to take the quick settlement that the insurance company is offering. But I can tell you from experience that it is not going to be a fair amount. I see it all the time where someone has settled with the insurance company and months later realizes that they still have pain from the accident, and now they're having to pay those bills out of their pocket. I don't want that to happen to anyone.
So what should our listeners do, Catherine?
Give us a call and discuss your situation with an attorney. The call is free and we'll gladly talk about your situation with you. If you have a case that we can help with, you will owe us nothing out of pocket. We actually make the insurance company pay for us to help you.
There you have it. Call the Advocates at 406-640-4444 or go online, MontanaAdvocates.com. You deserve the Advocates on your side.
Hi there, it's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
There's a saying, opportunity never knocks twice. When you're ready to take advantage of your next opportunity, look to your local bank. Opportunity Bank of Montana. Opportunity Bank offers options for mortgage loans, small business loans, equipment financing, agriculture, and more. Our experienced team can provide solutions to help you welcome your next big opportunity. There's nothing like the feeling of progress. So let's get started today. Come see us at your local Opportunity Bank of Montana. OpportunityBank.com, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
The biggest season in sports is shifting into overdrive, and the Desperado Sports Tavern has the fuel you need to make it to the finish line. By now, you've heard that the Despo serves the best wings around, but did you know they have a full menu with burgers, nachos, chicken strips, sandwiches, cheese sticks, and even steaks? Fill your tank, then wash it down with an ice-cold beverage or two. Keep your head in the game with 32 HD TVs and room for the whole crew. The Desperado Sports Tavern on South Russell across from the Y.
Are you interested in putting solar panels on your roof? Do you want the latest on Montana's renewable energy policies? The Montana Renewable Energy Association is a leading voice for renewable energy, education, and advocacy in Montana. From community-based clean energy events to advocating at the Montana legislature, they work to ensure Montana's future is powered by the sun, wind, and earth. Find out more about MREA and join as a member by visiting montanarenewables.org or calling 406-214-9405.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Just try and make it everybody's day on a Friday. So we have some fun with our friend Carolyn. It's Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris studios. Saturday, December 7th. Is Kurt's 7th annual snow day in Missoula, 2904 West Broadway, the biggest single sale of the entire year. Don't blow it all on Black Friday. You're going to get a better sale on Saturday the 7th at Kurt's Polaris. Everything you need for yourself and your entire Christmas list. One day only at Kurt's Polaris. It's Friday, boys and girls, and you know what that means. It's time for everybody's favorite, Carolyn, the chick who doesn't know sports, brought to us by the Missoula Winery and Event Center. Hello, Carolyn. Happy Friday to you.
Happy Friday to you.
Thanks very much. What do we got today?
Well, we have some good stuff.
Okay. Great.
Have you heard about James Harden's lack of performance on the road?
I haven't.
Apparently, he's not as good on the road, and a Reddit user decided to look into it. And it turns out he plays his worst in the cities with the best strip clubs.
I mean, that seems like a little bit of a subjective, analysis there.
Well, apparently this guy had a lot of time on his hands.
Okay. So where did he say has the best nightlife?
Miami.
L.A., Detroit were the top 3.
I'm not going to sit here and do the thing with you on where the best evening visits are for some of these NBA players, but I would say that the idea that guys playing their worst in the cities of Miami and LA is probably not unique to James Harden. That would be my best offering to you on this.
Yeah, that's the thing. This guy missed the boat a little bit because it's not just James Harden and it's not just strip clubs.
It's the New England Patriots.
They're in Miami, right?
That's right.
It's the straight up nightlife, right? Like Jalen Rose talks about this all the time. It's his champagne and campaign list. Mm-hmm. Says where's the best place to champagne and campaign, and if it's up there on the list, the chances of you winning on the road there or playing well on the road there pretty low because you probably stayed up too late. These guys have such crazy lifestyles because they don't have to. You have to think NBA games aren't until 7:00 at night.
Right. So you can just rage the night before.
And that's why I'm pushing to have this show move to the 8 to 10 p.m. window.
So you can hit up.
So that I just get to sleep till noon every day. It is great.
Oh,
yeah,
man.
I'm sure that. I just thought it was really funny. This guy spent all this time. You can find it online. It is hilarious. He made graphs and charts.
The more interesting part about James Harden is that James Harden was a good NBA player, an all-star level NBA player, but by no means a elite superstar. And then he started dating the Kardashian, Khloe, and he was terrible.
Yeah.
He dated. I thought Lamar Odom was with Khloe.
They both were.
Oh,
she's ruined some.
Okay,
NBA
no, I don't.
I think she was with
I
Chris
just wanted to
Humphries,
clarify.
too, or was
No, that was Kim.
Okay.
What about Tristan Thompson? Or is
he was with the most normal one.
Khloe. No, he was with Khloe. He had a baby with Khloe.
Wow, she is just ruining NBA rosters across. But when he broke up with her, though, he did a whole interview about how my life is so much better because I don't have to do paparazzi interviews and people aren't following me around. And he won the MVP the next year.
He did?
He won the MVP the year after he broke up with the Kardashian sister.
Thompson?
No, James Harden.
Oh, James Harden.
Oh, no, Tristan Thompson started dating the Kardashian and signed a $60 million contract and never did a single productive thing in the NBA since then.
Is he still playing?
He is.
Oh. See, what do I know?
What do you think, Gus?
I mean, this is the worst segment we've ever done.
No, it's not.
This is rude.
I actually think that people will think this is great.
Okay.
Wow.
What's number 2?
Jeez. Well, good news in the NHL.
Step up, yes.
The drinking has gone down. They're not drinking as much.
No, but they're doing drugs.
But the Washington Capitals are probably still drinking after winning the Stanley Cup last year.
You're 2 years late, bud. The Blues won the Stanley Cup.
That's right. They probably still are drinking. Ovechkin is still drinking out of the cup.
Dude, nobody celebrated harder for any championship ever than Alex Ovechkin, tip of the spear, and then the Capitals.
I would love to know the over-under of the beers he drank within the first month.
Millions. Millions. Yes, Carolyn.
That's really not what the story is, though. The story is that cocaine and Molly use are up. So they're not drinking, but they are getting high.
Who is this according to? Where does this statistic come from?
The Google.
I actually saw this.
So you can.
Okay. I don't even know what to ask you. I don't even know what to say.
Well, don't they get drug tested?
You know, we try and do a family show around here.
I'm asking a serious question. Don't they get drug tested?
They do get drug tested.
Only for performance enhancing
I mean, if you know about the physiology of those sorts of drugs, they stay in your system for a lot less time.
Interesting.
I don't know any of this stuff.
Okay. Well, I just thought the people should know this information.
Just for the people, Carolyn. Always. Yes.
Antonio Brown
says he's not coming back to the NFL.
He said that. He said F the NFL, and he called the NFL racist. However, my sources tell me he's meeting with some NFL people in the next couple weeks in hopes that he can come back.
Well, your sources who are impeccable, no doubt.
Yes.
It's probably fair at this point to like pick both sides of the fence with Antonio Brown, and you're going to be right half the time because he's just going to be going back and forth. That's how I read that.
Is that because he's a big old baby?
No, it's because he's he got himself out of the league. He's still a top 10 wide receiver if he came back today in the NFL, and so if somebody's going to pay him X number of million of dollars to play football, then he'll probably do it, and all's well that ends well. Although I don't think that's going to happen.
Yeah.
You listen to podcasts?
Yeah.
You need to listen to Gladiator.
Okay.
After
you download the Two Tell Nuanez podcast.
Well, that's my favorite podcast.
Thank you.
You need to listen to it. It's about Aaron Hernandez.
Oh yeah, I heard about that.
But it's not about him as a football player as much as it is about the institution of football, and it really illuminates how people like Antonio Brown exist. And like, he is truly crazy, but he's also just out of control because he's never had to be in control because he's been so talented his whole life. Like, he never had to be.
Yeah, but that's not true, man. Like, I mean, he has been talented his whole life, but he's also like a sixth. He hasn't been out of control, and he was like a 6th-round draft pick or whatever in Central Michigan that didn't become who he is from any sort of spotlight until his 3rd or 4th year in the league.
No, totally. All I'm getting at is that he's never really had to be accountable to himself because he's been the fastest guy in the world for 10 years, and he's gotten by on that, and now he's completely losing his mind because he doesn't have an identity, because what he's gotten by on his whole life is just not working for him anymore. I just you'll think it's so sad.
I'll listen. I heard about it, and I agree with you. I think that a lot of people that have fame and money early and aren't taught how to act or how to, work through that, whether or not you've got everything handed to you from the age of 19 on or whatever.
I mean, this is from the woman who wants the pay the players funds to go straight into a savings account that they can't touch until after they graduate.
Thinking maybe they could hire a special coach to help them with life skills.
Also, in the rookie symposium in the NBA, they send you to a 3-day crash course on how to manage your money.
They do?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
But the thing is that a lot of these guys come in with their, they got their cousin is the one who's going to do this for them because they trust them and this, that, and the other. And maybe they are trustworthy, but they might not be any good at it.
You just never know how it's going to go. Because like LeBron James made Maverick Carter his dude. You know, 15 years ago, Maverick Carter is his best friend. Maverick Carter is also brilliant. And so Maverick Carter has made LeBron Inc. into a $1 billion industry. But
I mean, he's going to be brilliant. His name's Maverick, for crying out loud. There was no chance that wasn't going to go great.
But some of these people, they do hire their cousin who then goes and buys like the inflatable furniture investment, and they just have no money. So
well, and there's also shady people out there who will take advantage of someone who's like, I don't want to deal with my money. You do it, and then $100 here, $1,000 there.
Oh yeah,
I would never do that. So if they want to hire me to help,
you gotta watch the movie Broke. Your mind will be blown.
Okay, I gotta write this down.
You have to watch it. You will just be astounded at all the things that these young guys do.
Who's the bloody sock pitcher for the Red Sox?
Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling.
Yes.
Have you heard about Curt Schilling's financial woes?
Is he broke?
Bro, we're talking north of $50 million into video games, like trying to build video games.
Oh boy.
All gone. And he is like, I don't know what his actual status is right now, but I know that everything that he had, earned over the course of a Hall of Fame pitching career.
That is awful.
I mean, you think you got the next big thing, and then not so much.
Yeah, that's poor management.
Well, there. I mean,
Well, anyway, I'm going to go ahead and write a business plan. So
okay.
If anyone's listening and needs, some money managed, call me.
What else you got, Carolyn?
The Patriots lost.
They did.
Now, here's the thing. People don't really know this because you really don't like the Patriots.
No, I really
and
don't like.
And specifically their quarterback.
Correct.
It's so funny. He seems right up your alley.
Ugh, barf.
Who do you like? Who's your quarterback?
Jim McMahon.
Oh, my God.
Of course, it's Jim McMahon. Oh, have mercy. Listen, when it comes to the Patriots, I don't hate the Patriots. I respect the Patriots, especially this year. I love great defense. They have the best defense in the NFL. And I don't have any axe to grind against Tom Brady. I like Tom Brady. I don't love him. I don't really root for him, but I respect him. I was thrilled that they lost and didn't just lose, but got it handed to them by the Baltimore Ravens this last week in again, really the first legitimate, like, playoff, could make a type of run opponent that they've played. Now, this doesn't do anything to throw New England off their pedestal atop the AFC or anything like that, but I thought it was just nice in terms of the at least perceived possibility that it won't be New England again at the very end, which almost certainly it will be. But it adds to the flavor of the regular season, and you can always point back to week 9, when it comes to the postseason. So I thought that was great. And I mean, my goodness, Lamar Jackson's fun to watch, but I don't want to get too sporty on you here.
Who's the quarterback on the Ravens?
Lamar Jackson.
Well, then he's my favorite quarterback.
He's your favorite after the great Jim McMahon?
He's a great one to have a favorite, though, because he's awesome. He's like such a genuine kid, and he's so, like, he seems like he's country, but then you listen to him, and he's just hilarious, and he's just got a funny way of being, and he's humble, and...
Well, then I love him.
You should love him. That's a great one to love. Get on the bandwagon early, because he is a star.
All right.
He is absolutely, he's miraculous, is what he is.
No Jim McMahon, but I will put him at number 2.
No, yeah, put him at 2 behind McMahon. Yeah. I mean, how could you do better than a headband and those black Ray-Bans?
Oh, man, they were so sweet. He used to do local TV ads in Chicago.
Oh man,
so awesome.
The greatest.
And the Super Bowl shuffle.
Yeah, you were riding the wave at its peak.
Oh yeah,
in Windy City.
Yep, it
85.
Was glorious. 85.
Oh man,
5th grade, baby. Good stuff.
Way to pull it out of the fire, Carolyn. Great work. You got anything else over there?
No.
Okay.
We're good.
Well, you did an excellent job today.
Thank you.
Really appreciate that.
Chick who doesn't know about sports, presented by the Missoula Winery and Event Center. You had Tattoo Girl wine last night, so we got a real life endorsement. Tell us about it.
Good stuff. The Cabernet.
Yeah.
Delicious.
You loved it?
I love it. It's so good.
Good.
Colter, the holidays are coming up. Thanksgiving. You got family in town. You got a big event, big parties, corporate parties. They got a great space out of the Missoula Winery and Event Center as well. Obviously, the Tattoo Girl wine, the star of the show, but the space to have to host any event that you got coming up, especially this time of year, it's a great place for it.
Whether you just want to go taste some Tattoo Girl wine, or you want to host a Christmas party, birthday party, graduation party, whatever you got, they got you covered. Great space out there by the airport off Airport Boulevard, 5646 West Harrier Drive, the address. You can give them a call to set up tastings, parties, whatever you need. Missoula Winery and Event Center, 406-830-3296.
Thank you, Carolyn.
Thanks, guys.
Mike Dugar joins us every Friday to talk about the Seahawks, but not today. He's going to talk to us about the Vandals next.
Alpine Touch has been part of the fabric of Montana for more than 60 years. Decades ago, Russell Street started selling his touch of magic in whitefish. Years later, Alpine Touch's all-purpose seasoning remains a favorite. It's tailgating season, and there's no better way to spice up your grill before a Grizz game than with Alpine Touch. Go to alpinetouch.com now and use the checkout code ESPN10 for a 10% discount on your order. Alpine Touch is here to keep your mouth watering all football season. Alpine Touch, Montana's special spice.
If you're looking for a charming neighborhood hideaway, come into Katie O'Keefe's. Located in the corner of the Stevens Center, Katie's has an inviting atmosphere with ample parking and a location that's easy to get to and hard not to love. With drink specials every night of the week, including Tequila Tuesdays and Whiskey Wednesdays, offering $3 premium cocktails. Katie O'Keefe's is the welcoming, warm hangout you've been looking for. Come into Katie O'Keefe's, where the drinks are always cold and the people are always friendly.
Black Friday is coming, and for the hunter or gun enthusiast on your list, the best Black Friday sale is once again at Selway Armory. Selway Armory's annual Black Friday sale is the stuff of legends, with tons of inventory at and even below cost. Put Selway Armory on your schedule and get there this Black Friday and Saturday for the sale of the year on firearms, ammunition, and accessories. Get to the store at 2825 Stockyard Road, Unit E6 behind IHOP on North Reserve. Selway Armory's Black Friday sale, the best there is.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Don't miss the holiday edition of Missoula's largest sale of pre-owned jewelry Saturday, November 23rd at the University Center Ballroom. The Wear It Again Jewelry Sale Holiday Edition kicks off at 9 a.m. with a wide selection of categories to choose from. Pick up a one-of-a-kind piece for the holidays or bring the kids and let them browse the children's section. All pieces are cleaned, categorized, and tagged, creating a fun shopping experience. Proceeds support programs at Missoula Aging Services. For more information, go to MissoulaAgingServices.org.
If you are hurt or disabled, you may be entitled to benefits from an insurance company or Social Security. I'm Chris Helmer, an attorney at Clark Fork Law Offices. Our Missoula firm specializes in worker compensation, personal injury, and Social Security disability. There are many unknowns when injured or disabled. The other side is fighting hard. You should too. Call Clark Fork Law at 728-0168 for a free consultation or visit clarkforklaw.com. Again, 728-0168.
ESPN Radio for Western Montana. KKVU HD3 Stevensville and 102.9 FM on K275BS Missoula. ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon, Ryan Tutel, Colton Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. Here's some sports news for you. Rivalry showdowns and playoffs highlight the weekend football across the Treasure State. This weekend at the high school level, Missoula Sentinel hosts Billings Senior in a Class AA playoff action tonight and tomorrow. Montana welcomes Idaho to town for the first time in 15 years.
Class AA playoff bracket features 4 matchups tonight as the field is down to 8. The Spartans are in the number 2 seed overall and will host a Billings Senior squad that ousted Missoula Hellgate last week. Sentinel cruised past Billings Skyview into the quarterfinals. Number 1, Butte hosts Kalispell Glacier. Number 3, Billings West hosts number 6, Helena Capital. Number 5, Bozeman hosts number 4, Bozeman hosts number 5, Helena High.
In the Class A playoffs, Western Montana will see Hamilton host Billings Central in a rematch of last year's state title game. In Frenchtown, they got to go 500 miles to take on Eastern A number 1 seed Miles City. For the first time since 2003, the Idaho Vandals will take on the Montana Grizzlies in Missoula in the battle for the Little Brown Stein. The last time UI played at Washington Grizzly Stadium, the Grizz used a surprised option offense to post a 41-28 victory. Last season, Idaho's first back in the Big Sky since 96, UM blasted the Vandals 46-27 in the Kibbe Dome. Kickoff 1 o'clock. The game is on Root Sports Television.
And finally, Montana State looks for their second straight win at Northern Colorado. Kickoff noon. Game can be found SWX Montana Television.
This ESPN Sports Center is presented by Clark Fork Law.
Boys and girls, it's 5 o'clock. Welcome to your weekend. Happy to be with you. Tutel and Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Thanks for letting us be with you as you have entered the fun zone. We are broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios, December 7th. It's a Saturday. It's Kurt's 7th annual Snow Day, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula, the number 1 best sale in the entire year, one day only at Kurtz Polaris. If you missed anything in the first hour of the show, check it out on the podcast, the Tutel and Nuanez podcast, available wherever you get your podcasts. It's there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. Also, the FCS Speculators Betting Podcast, it's out right now. Go check it out. Listen. Enjoy, even more Tutel and Nuanez in your life, okay? If you'd like to call, 329-1899 is the phone number. All guests join us via the Range Brothers RV phone line. And if you want to listen live, you're not around your radio or you're hiding from your boss or you're just out of the market, you go onto your device, your tablet, your computer, your phone, what have you. Go to 1029ESPN.com. You listen live on the Listen Live tab. It's called a stream, and it's there thanks to Opportunity Bank, your local bank, your opportunity. Now, Colter, Mike Dugar, we think very highly of. He joins us every week on a Friday. We said, well, shoot, the Seahawks game is Monday. So we got to have Mike Dugar on Monday to talk about the Seahawks. But you said, but wait a moment, because Mike Dugar covers the Seahawks for The Athletic now. Out of college at Washington State, I believe, right? Mike Dugar went to matriculated through the great journalism school at Wazoo. covered Idaho. Was the Idaho beat where not just football.
Moscow Pullman Daily News.
Yeah, so he was there.
The dual paper, two-town paper. So I got to know Mike at the Big Sky. Didn't really actually get to know him that well. He was just covering the Big Sky tournament, and we were too. And we were my brother,
the basketball tournament in Reno.
In Reno, and my brother and him and myself and Kyle Sample were always the last four guys in the arena, and we were always shooting hoops. And I was like, "Oh, this guy's funny."
Yeah.
And then I always liked his questions and stuff. So then I started chatting him up a little bit, and then kind of lost touch. And then I was like, "Oh, he resurfaced with the Athletic. This is sweet. I got a subscription to the Athletic. I read his stuff all the time." And then when we got this Seahawks syndication, I was like, "Man, I know this dude. I wonder if he remembers me." So I hit him up. He's like, "Oh yeah, what's up, bro?" And then here we are. But it's funny because he's got Big Sky roots, and so he covered the Vandals for 3 years, and so he's got a lot of thoughts and memories and perspective on the Idaho Athletic Department.
Yeah, well, we thought it would be a good time for it, so let's do it.
We go now to the Rankage Brothers RV phone line. We welcome in our buddy Mike Dugar. He covers the Seattle Seahawks for the Athletic. But today, because the Seahawks don't play till Monday, so we'll talk to him again on Monday about the Seahawks San Francisco game. Mike, you started in your career at Idaho, and the Vandals are coming to Missoula this weekend to play the Grizzlies in the first renewal of this rivalry in 15 years in Missoula, in Washington Grizzly Stadium. But you covered Paul Petrino and the Idaho Vandals football team, as well as several other clubs for the Idaho Vandals for several years in the late 2000 teens, 2014, 26 through 2016, 17, something like that. What do you remember about your time just in general covering Idaho? Because they do have a big fan base, a big following, right?
I remember the strange situation with, not really being in a division that was like with opponents nearby. That was always weird. Playing like Georgia Southern and Appalachian State. They had it. Think about that. Appalachian State. You guys know how far that is from Idaho?
Right.
That's ridiculous for them to have, games there. Idaho should have no division games against Georgia State.
Totally.
That was always just weird to me. How much of a mess Paul Petrino inherited was very bad. It was probably one of I was just reading about Florida State and the mess Willie Taggart inherited from Jimbo Fisher. And that has nothing on what Idaho was, man. Those kids, it's not that they weren't even good in school. I don't even think they knew where their classes were under, I think the previous coach was Akey. Their APR was so bad. There was posters up on the school like, hey, fire Paul, and it had like a list of all the things he did that was bad. And kids got caught stealing from the store where they get free gear anyway. It was just, and then the team was bad, right? It was just a big mess. And then to see Paul turn it around and win 9 games in my final year covering and win that Potato Bowl, one of the most magical games I can ever remember being at. It was just a whirlwind at Idaho. It definitely wasn't boring. It was very interesting, which is weird to say about, a team in northern Idaho.
Well, I want to key in on that with you because, Paul Petrino has this reputation of being a pretty acerbic personality and all of that, and that's probably true. And his teams at Idaho have been at times horrendous, but also, like you said, he had 9 wins at the FBS level, won a bowl game. That's pretty remarkable, and he certainly knows football. And so where are you at with him, and what was it like to cover him specifically as the coach, and especially, like you said, when he inherited a really tough spot anyways?
Well, he was a really angry guy a lot of the time, but that makes sense when your team wins one or two games. We had a notable run-in that didn't go well. He's an angry cat, really fiery, but that works for football. That's one of those arenas where, you yell at people and tell them they suck and scream and get fired up and turn red. You get a raise when all that stuff happens. If you win, I think actually he was a good coach. He had some really good, principles, understood the fundamentals of little stuff, finishing games. I always preach finishing games, the right way to tackle, the emphasis on ball security, stuff like that. He was a good, he really had an eye for quarterbacks when I was there, and that that went down the drain when I left. Good God. Just nepotism kind of ruined that program, I think. That's a bit of an issue. That it's kind of sad that it kind of went that way, because when I was there, the quarterback play was actually decent. Chad Chalich was all right. Jake Luton is a Pac-12 starter now. Matt Linehan, had a quick stint in the NFL. I think he was also in the the AAF. I think he's not doing the XFL, but he was a good quarterback. And then I think he's starting Colton Richardson now, the kid from Lewiston, who's got an arm, but I think is he battling with Mason Petrino? That's just a bad move, man. I covered Mason in high school, and it wasn't. What I saw was not a scholarship quarterback at any level. So when I think about the program now, I'm like, man, that place could have really been going. They probably have some other issues. I don't really watch the games anymore, but to see, I look at the box score on my ESPN app, and I'm like, Petrino, 9 of 22 for 100 yards and a pick. Who the hell is that? So that sucks, but that's kind of what the situation is now for them. Because actually, I still talk to a lot of guys that I covered at Idaho. I really liked the community there. It was really cool.
Yeah, for sure. Well, the place that Idaho's occupied for the last 20 or so years has been unique and interesting, in a lot of ways disastrous. And I think that their fan base might be one of the most split fan bases in terms of what the vision was, is, and should be for what the school and the athletic department should be. So you're a guy who went to Wazoo, so you're familiar with the area, the Palouse, and just the dichotomy between the two towns. But how would you describe just the overall climate there? Because there were so many people that wanted to stay FBS. Some people, they wanted to come back to the Big Sky because it does renew some of those regional rivalries like you're talking about. You don't have to go to App State. You can just go to Cheney. And it's just, it saves you thousands of miles in travel. But on the other hand, you're not playing at the top level of football anymore, and you're not making some of the money that they were making playing the Ole Misses and Florida State, the two different schools of thought for Idaho football and Idaho athletics in general.
It was a really weird split. And the people on both sides had really good arguments. It was like, the Big Sky folks like, man, forget this. We're not competitive. Let's go to a division where we're competitive. Although that was always a flawed argument to me. You'd be competitive in the Big Sky if you were still getting FCS recruits. If you're only getting FCS recruits, no playing field levels, which is what they quickly learned. They're not just running through the Big Sky. They had a point there about the regional rivalries, maybe attendance getting better, which I doubt it has, because attendance is tied to success, of course, which they had finally in the FBS when I was there. The other side of it is like, look, we get our butt kicked by Florida State, but they also pay us $1.1 million to get our butt kicked, and we need $1.1 million. I think USC gave them 1.4 or something when I was there. Even Wazoo kicked them like $600K. Like, you need that money when you're Idaho. And the allure of playing on the FBS stage, I think, was underestimated in a lot of ways. Like, the Big Sky is cool, but just even having the chance to maybe play on like ESPN2 or something like that, the fact that you do play in Auburn, a Florida, an LSU, a USC, like the fact that you got those games every year, like that was a selling point. And because you then played teams in the South, in the Sun Belt, you could recruit in the in that area, and even go independent. Like, I know that wasn't a viable solution, but I thought that was probably the way to go to figure it out. Anything to say FBS. I think the ultimate problem though was there was division not only in the fans, up in the front office. I don't think Chuck, what's his name, Staben. I don't think Chuck Staben and Rob Spear were on the same page. I think Rob wanted FBS, Staben wanted FCS, and that's it right there. Boom. When the leaders aren't on the same page, your fan base is probably not going to be on the same page. Then your programs won't be on the same page, and it'll just be a disaster. I knew that. I don't even think either one of them's there anymore.
Neither. They're both gone now.
They're both gone.
Yeah. That was just. I could see that coming. You could see the look on Spears' face when they did that press conference with Staben. Staben's all hype about this FCS thing, and Rob looks like, they looked like dejected. It was terrible. The fact that Chuck and Rob weren't on the same page was the most problematic part of anything. Fans are divided all the time. You can't have the decision makers divided, because then you don't move forward anywhere, which is why both of those guys are now gone. Ultimately, Rob was a little inept, in other areas, but I think ultimately that was it. They didn't have a joint vision, so everything was just a mess.
When it comes to just Idaho in general, by the way, Mike Dugar joining us, at Mike Dugar on Twitter. He covers the Seahawks for The Athletic, but talking to us about the Vandals since they're playing the Grizzlies this weekend. He covered Idaho athletics for several years before going over to Western Washington to Seattle. But, Mike, when you talk about Moscow, Idaho, and the University of Idaho, it is a place that has a real following, a real fan base. People care about that university, and like you said, attendance is what it is, but that's tied to success, is not necessarily tied to the reality where if they were winning, people would come out to that thing, and if they believed in the program, because that's a community, it's a great college town, right, and a place where people really do care about the school and the athletic department.
Oh, yeah, the spirit is definitely there, because you know, in a college town, it's not just that, like, they're small, right? When people say college town, you can have a big college town. The thing is, it's like everything revolves around the college, and people stay there their whole life. Like, people go to, like, Moscow High, because I covered preps, too. So, like, I got to know, like, people in the community, like the local guy who runs, like, the bike shop, or, you know, who's been there forever, or, you know, the sheriff, or the guy who runs that one bar in, like, Troy. You know, I got to know all those type of people, and they've been in Idaho their whole life, a lot of them. So all they know is the Vandals and Vandal football Saturday, you know, shuts everything down, you know, when they're good and stuff like that. You know, that's one of the coolest parts of covering college versus the pros. You meet cool people, you know, who are like diehard Seahawks fans, or it's probably different covering like the Packers, Cowboys, Bears, or something like that. But in a college town, it's just like, nah, eat, sleep, breathe your team's football game on those Saturdays. And yeah, the spirit was for sure there. Like, I'm still, even the other programs were super cool up there. You know, the soccer coach, Derek Pittman, was, I don't know if he's still there, but he was a really good dude. You know, John Newley, the women's basketball coach, still one of the best coaches I've probably ever covered, just as a X's and O's guy and just as a recruiter and a dude. He was super cool. In fact, I think when they won the Big Sky, I think last year, I sent him a text or email, I can't remember, just saying congrats. I didn't think he'd remember me. I just was like, hey, you know, congrats and everything. He hit me back so fast. Like, it was like in all caps. He was like, of course, I remember you, man. You did great stuff. Happy to hear you doing Seahawks. You know, he was just a cool cat. So, like, from the coaches to some of the players that I still know, I just ran into a former Idaho player, you know, out in Seattle last week. You know, like, everything else was cool. It was just the coach was a hothead and the management was a disaster. Everything else about Idaho was pretty great.
Well, those are two minor things, so no big deal. You know, it's fine. Everything else is good.
Other than those two very huge things, you know, everything else was fine.
I just think this is so fascinating. I could honestly talk to you about this for like half an hour, because I just think that there's so much good stuff. But I do want to get your perspective on what you think the future is, because I thought you made an interesting comment. You know, I think that people did think that they were going to dominate the Big Sky because they had FBS guys. But I think that there's, having covered the Big Sky for 13 years now, I think there's such a dichotomy. I mean, Idaho, for a lot of it, you know, Matt Linehan was definitely a good player. He's a high-level FBS quarterback. He could have played at a lot of schools. They were fortunate that his dad was an alum, and he ended up choosing Idaho. And they've had guys that were, you know, good. I mean, that running back Penny, I know he's still in the league, and they have dudes that have gone on to play in the league. Caden Ellis is in the league right now as well. But I also think that schools like Montana State, Eastern Washington, they get dudes that are so much better than the FCS level, and that's why they're FCS powers, because they can get dudes who are above the level who come to those schools because maybe they're overlooked, or they're from a rural area, or they're late bloomers, or whatever it might be. And it seems to me it was the opposite for Idaho a lot of times. They were getting the bottom of the barrel when it comes to FBS guys, getting guys who were going straight FBS just to say that they went FBS. They might actually have a better opportunity and a better path and a better everything at a school like Montana, for example, than when Idaho was in the FBS. But I think it's just so interesting the way it's all evolved. And then, like you said, you pointed to the fact, like the women's basketball program, you can have success in Moscow. I mean, John Newley went to 3 tournaments in 4 years. I think that's where I first met you, was in Reno, covering Idaho's run to the NCAA tournament, and also the congruent disappointing run by the men's basketball team when they flamed out and they're the 2 seed and they lost in the first round of Southern Utah. But in your mind, I mean, where does Idaho go from here? Can they salvage this thing? Can they get back to being a traditional Big Sky Conference power?
Yeah, see, that's going to be so tough. And like I mentioned, that was really short-sighted on the part of people who were like, yeah, we'll be more competitive if we play like Southern Utah in football, too. It's like, no, you won't, because you won't get Caden Ellis.
Right.
In the Big Sky, you won't get Elijah Penny. You won't get there was a really good receiver there named Desmond Epps. I was there. He might have been the best talent I might have ever seen. Dude was just an idiot. But he was knucklehead. He got arrested like 3 times in like a year. Oh, just for the silliest stuff. Really great talent, though. But you don't get him. You know, you don't get, you know, Jay Sean Jordans. You don't get, you know, Quentin Bradley all these guys. I'm naming all the seniors from that Josh McCain, I think, was like a 1,000-yard receiver when I was there. They had dudes, but you don't get those dudes if there's no difference between going to Idaho versus Portland State. Like you just don't, and I don't think people understood that. So now, well, the first start is probably get a new coach there. I really can't express how inexcusable it is for him to be playing Mason there. Like, even if I haven't studied Mason's numbers or everything like that, but I mean, even in high school, I covered Mason's senior year at Pullman High, and then I covered the year after that when he left, and they moved their tight end, the quarterback, to replace him, and they were just worlds better. It was that. Anyone who's seen that can just tell you. Like, I saw it firsthand, talked to guys who play with him at every level, watched him as a college guy. That's just nothing about that screamed, college quarterback. But I think there's, like I said, some nepotism there. So you got to get rid of that. That's just inexcusable. Like, it worked when it was like a former alums kid in Linehan. He was also like 6'3" with an arm.
Right. Threw for 10,000 yards. Right? I mean, he had a shot in the NFL. It's a lot different than a 5'11" guy who throws for 110 yards a game.
Yeah, he was throwing with a glove on, I think, when he was there. It was I think Bridgewater throws this one on in the pros. Like, it's not the worst thing. Luke Falk's done it too, but I've always thought that was weird. I think that's your first step, because it's your quarterback play. You need solid quarterback play. I don't know if the Colt Richardson kid is the answer. I also don't know what year he has left. But I mean, what Pacino was good at, like I said, when I was there, he recruited Jake Luton, man. He's starting for Oregon State. Like that, and he's good too. He's like top 5 in some really important category. I just can't remember. It might be touchdown interception ratio right now, like in the country. Like Jake, he recruited Jake. Got Linehan. Those guys are good. Charles is good. Even Colton Richardson. So I think it starts with if he's not gonna make the right decisions at quarterback. Paul. You got to get a new guy, and you got to get someone in there who can find a talented quarterback. When you got someone who can sling it, because defenses in the Big Sky, I imagine, aren't too complex. You got somebody who can sling it like Eastern's had over the years. You get somebody, then boom, your whole program can change. So I think that's what I would do if I was like running things over there.
Well, Mike, we certainly appreciate the time. Talk to us about Idaho, your time there, and your perspective on the school, the program, the university, all that kind of stuff. We appreciate it very much. At Mike Dugar on Twitter. We'll talk to you again on Monday. Seahawks 49ers, all right?
All right. Thanks. No problem.
Mike Dugar, not really holding back, Coulter.
That was your Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week.
I mean, the whole interview is almost the Burn Street Bistro Burn of the Week. He
articulated pretty well a lot of things that I've been trying to say all week, too, though. Just the fact that Idaho has talent. They have talent at multiple different positions. There's just been some things that eluded them, and I also think it's interesting that they have had good quarterbacks, and they have not since the head coach started playing his son there. And it's a tired narrative at this point, but it's just a reality. And to hear it from a guy who covered him in high school and stuff too, I mean, you don't want to trash the kid because, like we said, I mean, Mason Pacheco's pretty tough, man. He is tough.
He is.
He's just not good.
Well, he's way undersized.
He's just not talented.
Yeah.
He doesn't throw the ball like a D1 guy. I mean, like he said, where's a glove? He throws it he just throws it like a little guy.
Here's the other thing too. That's sort of, I don't know. It's what it is worth. Colton Richardson, who's the backup quarterback,
who got hurt against Idaho State, and was playing great against Idaho State.
Is he all the way out? Like, is he out?
I mean, he got his knee basically cut in half.
No, I mean, I watched it, but I mean,
he hyperextended his knee pretty bad. Okay. I mean, you saw him.
He's listed at 270. That's a lie.
It's a lie. I mean, he's 285. I mean, he's enormous. I mean, he's 6'5", Jared Lorenzen size.
And if he's out, then that's that is what it is. But it's not. Let's put it like this: it's not as if Case Cookus or Dalton Snead is sitting there as a backup either. And we can talk about he Mike Dugar references nepotism and. Okay, maybe, and that might scare other quarterbacks that you might have gotten out, and that's a real problem. But also, I mean, I don't know that the room is particularly strong today either. It's not as if there's some 4-star kid sitting there not playing, in that respect. So that's where I kind of pump the brakes on it a little bit. And like you said, who knows how to run the offense and what he wants the coach to do more than the son of the coach? Like, nobody does. The question is, can he just, in fact, go out there and do it? Occasionally he can. Often he cannot.
Mason Petrino was, air quotes, hurt against Idaho State, and they went with Colton Richardson, and Colton Richardson was playing well.
Yep.
And Idaho had all this momentum, and then Colton Richardson gets hurt, and they still had all the momentum, and they end up scoring 2 defensive touchdowns in the fourth quarter to just run away from Idaho State. And Idaho State lost that game 45-21. But when Richardson got hurt, they went with a kid named Nikhil Nayar, who's I think a redshirt freshman or a sophomore. Redshirt freshman. He was better than those other 2 guys. Here's the thing. Here's where the nepotism part of it reeks to me. Like you said, who's going to know better than the culture of the program, the toughness that Paul Petrino wants, all that? Who's going to know better than his son? I do believe that the father believes the son is a winner. I believe all the things that they're trying to perpetuate. But it's not just that they've started him at quarterback. It's that they haven't tried to out-recruit him. They didn't recruit any quarterbacks for a couple years. They didn't recruit any good quarterbacks, I should say. They intentionally did not try to out-recruit the kid. And at a school like Idaho, you can get drop-downs. You can get talent. They've had Matt Linehan. They've had John Freeze. They've had Doug Nussmeier. They've had dudes. So you can get dudes. And it's like Mike Dugar said there. I mean, the kid who used to play Idaho starting quarterback at Oregon State now.
Yeah.
I mean, Chad Challenge came here and he couldn't beat out Brady Gustafson initially, but when he got his chance, he was good. He's better than what Idaho has been rolling with the last 2 years. So I'm just saying they have the ability to recruit guys, and they haven't intentionally. And that's the part that is I think, painful for Vandals fans.
Tomorrow, Tutel Nuanez, ESPN College Game Day. We're on your radios. We're going to go a little early tomorrow, 11:15. Get on there a little bit earlier, an hour and 45 minutes ahead of kickoff. We will be down at the tailgate party. Come on down. Domino's Pizza down there, Badlander with drinks from the bar, Pepsi giving you free pop, free water, free Gatorade. You get all the gear you need from the MSO Hub. Check out the sweet Carl Tyler and Kurtz Polaris vehicles. Throw some mini footballs from the Advocates. It's all down there. Come hang out with us. Get some swag from ESPN for crying out loud. We'll have some stuff for you. Come say what's up. We're adjacent to the walking bridge across from the Eastgate Shopping Center. So if you park on the north side of the river, you're going to walk across there at the walking bridge. Stop by, say hi, have a drink, and hang out for a little bit on your way to a rivalry kickoff. We're going to have a lot of fun. So on your radios at 11:15 tomorrow morning with the pregame show. We'll take a quick break.
Go update for you here.
Oh, yes.
We had Chris Chidovitsky from the Montana women's soccer team. He's the head coach, UM women's soccer. They, when we had him on the ESPN Roundtable, they were on their way to play Eastern Washington for basically the de facto regular season Big Sky title game. They beat Eastern Washington 1-0, which has been their go-to score. I think 5 1-0 games during conference play. They went 6-0-3 in conference play, undefeated. Big Sky Conference regular season champs, take the number 1 seed into the tournament. They get the award. So in soccer, the team who won the league the year before gets to host. So Northern Colorado's the host. They're the 4 seed. They play either yesterday or 2 days ago. They win. They take Montana to overtime. Alexa Coyle's goal was the one goal that Montana got, and then in overtime, Taylor Bray scores a goal for Northern Colorado 14 minutes into OT, and Montana's season ends. Heartbreaking fashion. The Grizz did not give up more than 1 goal all conference play, and then they give up 2 goals in overtime in their one and only conference tournament match. It's a heartbreaking loss.
It is, and when you have the bye and you're already into the semifinal, but then you have to play the team at home in the host school.
Tough draw, man.
Tough draw, and that's. Chris Chidovitsky told us this is why soccer is the cruelest game, I believe were his words, because it just takes one and they got it. So great season though for the Montana women's soccer team, and they will be hosting next year's conference
tournament. And they have no seniors, right?
Yes, zero seniors on the team.
So,
insane.
I mean, talk about a story prime and ripe with redemption.
No kidding.
You got a chance to host the thing coming off of that sort of heartbreaking loss. I mean, I guarantee you Chris Chidovitsky's going to have that team ready to roll next year.
Yeah, we think pretty highly of Chris Chidovitsky, you and I, after having spent a little bit of time with him. All right, there you go. Quick break. We'll come back. It's time for our picks against the spread, NFL style. We do it every Friday. We'll do it right after this. Hey, winter driving can be dark and dangerous. Yellow faded headlights only make it worse. Next week only, go to Shine Auto Detailing for half-price headlight restoration. Regularly it's $70. Next week only $35. Online at MissoulaAutoDetailing.com or just search Shine Auto Detailing. Heck, if you just search Auto Detailing in Missoula, the one with the most reviews, it's Shine Auto Detailing. You go there, grab your phone, set up an appointment, and go in there and get your headlights sorted out. It'll take 20 minutes or less to get your headlight restoration, and then guess what? You can see at night, people. How nice and safe is that in the wintertime? Shine Auto Detailing, MissoulaAutoDetailing.com. Next week only half price headlight restoration.
Hi there. It's Les Schwab Tires. Well, more like Les Schwab alignment and brakes and shocks and wheels and tires. Now, some tire places don't offer all that. They only sell tires. And we're not sure how they sleep at night because all those services affect things like steering and stopping. That's why we offer more than tires to help keep you safe. Stop by or book an appointment at leschwab.com. Les Schwab Tires, doing the right thing since 1952.
On Russell, across from the fairgrounds.
Imagine the sacrifice, the time away from family and friends. The Montana Club would like to say thanks for the many sacrifices our veterans and their families make every day at home and abroad by inviting all veterans and active military to enjoy 50% off all entrees this Veterans Day. The Montana Club looks forward to the opportunity to show their appreciation to all veterans. November 11th, the Montana Club on Brooks and North Reserve, Missoula.
Hey, Colter Nuanez from Tutel Nuanez. You need a great place for a Christmas gift? I got a spot for you. Aspen Sound in Missoula. They got all the hookups for everything you could possibly need for your vehicles. What are some of the sweet things you got going on down there, Tom?
Thanks, Colter. You know, Apple CarPlay and Android Auto have sure been popular this year for safety and convenience. You can do text messaging, maps, pretty much everything you need, phone calls, music, everything right from the touch of your radio. We also have remote car starters, as you know, and window tint. Lots of goodies at a great price. Come on down and see us.
Feel the music at Aspen Sound. No matter how far you may go, there's always one just down the road. Town Pump, who pump it up.
Looking for something refreshing but different? Stop by your local Town Pump. They've got the perfect refreshers. White Claw, Truly, and Smirnoff Seltzer 12-pack cans, $14.99. And Cook's 1.5 liter, only $10.99. Find all your refreshments at Town Pump, right down the road.
It's a rite of passage, that first bank account. Explore the great options for your young adult with a visit to Farmer State Bank, online at farmersebank.com or in person at any of our 9 locations in western Montana. Our checking and savings accounts are designed to fit any lifestyle and budget with the flexibility, innovations, and security today's consumers demand. Start out right with Farmer State Bank, your Montana bank since 1907. Member FDIC.
You've been auditioning at the dinner table for years. Are you finally ready to hit the stage? Arts Missoula and ASUM are teaming up again to showcase the best of the region's high school talent at First Night Spotlight. Audition at Hellgate or Big Sky after school on December 2nd and 5th, respectively. Or for Sentinel, Willard, and surrounding schools, tryouts will be held 11:30 a.m. Saturday, December 7th at the UC Theater. The best of the best will be invited to perform live on New Year's Eve. To sign up for First Night Spotlight tryouts, go to artsmissoula.org.
ESPN Missoula Sports Center.
Good afternoon. Ryan Tutel, Colter Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Sports Center. Class AA football playoffs continue beginning tonight. One game in Missoula and in Missoula tomorrow. How about Idaho, Montana? It's rivalry and playoff football around the state of Montana this week.
The Class AA playoff bracket features that Missoula Sentinel versus Billings Senior matchup tonight. It also features number 1 Butte against Kalispell Glacier. Number 3 Billings West hosts number 6 Helena Capital. Number 4 Bozeman hosts number 5 Helena High. And in current breaking news, University of Montana women's soccer team lost 2-1 in overtime to Northern Colorado at the Big Sky Conference semifinal tournament.
In the Class A playoffs in Western Montana, we will see Hamilton hosting Billings Central, a rematch of last year's state championship game. And in Eastern Montana, how about number 1 seed Miles City, waiting 500 miles of travel from Frenchtown to get out there to play a football game tomorrow.
I meant to say they lost in the tournament semifinals, not the semifinal tournament. That was dumb. For the first time since 2003, the Idaho Vandals will take on the Montana Grizzlies in Missoula for the Battle of the Little Brown Stein. The last time UI played at Washington Grizz, the Grizz used a surprise option offense to post a 41-28 victory. Last season, Idaho's first back in the Big Sky since 1996. The Grizz blasted the Vandals 46-27 in the Kibbe Dome.
There's a place off Ocean Avenue where I used to sit and talk with you. We were both 16 and it felt so right. Sleeping all day, staying up all night. Staying up all night.
Boys and girls, every Friday around here, we like to talk a little bit of NFL, for crying out loud, headed into the NFL weekend, and pick some games against the spread. So let's do it. It's Tutel Nuanez, 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Outstanding to be with you. Thanks for letting us be there. We're broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. And at that very store on December the 7th, it's their one-day sale, the Snow Day, 7th annual Snow Day. It's become a huge deal. People getting ready, getting in line for this thing. You got to get over there as well. Best deals of the year, one day only, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Saturday, December 7th at Kurtz Polaris. Coulter, we like to do some picks around the spread, and we do them because what did I say?
Around. You're somewhere around.
Yeah,
mostly.
the dance around the spread. We do it because we love it. We do it because we love football, especially the NFL, and we do it thanks to Katie O'Keefe's. And by the way, we're going to hook the people up at the end of this thing. We're giving you a bar tab, the Katie O'Keefe's, so we're all done with this thing.
Stay tuned.
Stick around with that, and we will get you set up. All right, here we go. NFL picks against the spread, 5 games. Kansas City is at Tennessee. Coulter, the Tennessee Titans are a 6-point home underdog. Patrick Mahomes returning in this football game, evidently. I read something earlier, Coulter, that like 97% of the money that has come across on this game has gone to Kansas City. So that's what people think about Patrick Mahomes. Who am I to argue the people? No, I will not do it. I got Kansas City winning by a touchdown or better.
All these first 4 games that we're picking are just so lackluster to me. So
stop with that.
I mean, the
4th game is great.
They are. I want to get around to the analogy that you and I were discussing via text message. So let's riff through these real quick. So I want to talk about this for a couple minutes.
I don't even remember what it was. So okay,
go.
You well, then make your pick.
You got Alzheimer's. I got Tennessee.
Okay. Detroit at Chicago, an NFC North matchup. The Bears, a 2.5-point home favorite. Great defense, awful offense, and Detroit kind of average at both.
Actually, Detroit's pretty good on offense, man. We don't want to believe it, but Stafford's pretty good. Marvin Jones is pretty good. Kenny Galladay's pretty good.
They're good in the passing game, but right now, especially with the loss to Carry-On, they're awful.
Well, it's not even right now. They haven't been able to run it in years. I mean, Matt Stafford has broken and rebroken the record for passing attempts in a season twice, I think, in his career. So that shows you how little they've leaned on the run game. I've been saying all year that I think Chicago is going to be the team that fades, and you're going to think this is crazy. I'm saying this, but when you really think about it, I just think Detroit's better.
I don't think it's crazy.
Right.
I mean, Chicago is one of the 5 worst offenses in the NFL, period. I mean,
Trubisky right now is perhaps the biggest liability that there is at quarterback.
They've been really, really bad.
As far as an opening day starter who's still in.
But their defense is absolutely elite. They are so very good at it. I think 2.5 points is probably a fair number in Soldier Field. I'll take the Bears to win by a field goal, although it can't be a field goal that they kick at the end because they will certainly miss it. So they got to be ahead by 3 at the end. That's how that goes. Okay, so you and I are apart on this one as well. Yep. The Atlanta Falcons head to New Orleans. They're a 13.5-point favorite. The Saints are. This is so easy for me. Saints all day, every day. I don't care the number if they're playing the Falcons at home. Put 45 points on it. I get the Saints.
Yeah, I got the Saints. Falcons are
awful.
Done. Put a fork in them.
Carolina at Green Bay. Cam Newton officially done for the season.
So does
Amazing.
that mean he's done in Carolina?
That's a discussion for another day.
With his contract, though, I just think that it's a real discussion because I just don't think you can pick up the option on him.
Well, you can if his foot's okay.
It's true.
So,
as we know, though, I love Cam Newton. He's very polarizing. I love him. I've always liked Cam, but as we know, in a variety of pro sports. Foot injuries, big guys, never good.
Okay, I'm gonna do the fan thing here. Of course, I'm gonna take.
It's Green Bay at home.
It's Green Bay at home, and it's also, but this is maybe the fan thing. Green Bay was an embarrassment last weekend, to say nothing of the poem that I had to read on this very radio and television station. Sean, you're welcome.
They were,
but they were an embarrassment. And if you're a professional football team, the leadership in that locker room, starting with number 12, but also some offensive linemen. I mean, Brian Bulaga was lit up in that game. That doesn't happen very often. I think there's some professional pride there. Christian McCaffrey is one of the best skill position football players in the NFL. I mean, that's not going out only. He's right there in the conversation as the best. Okay, he is so good. But I'm not sure what else there is. Well, not Sunday is going to be my bet. Okay, probably won't happen in Lambeau on Sunday.
He's played something like 98.5% of their snaps, and he's got something like 56% of their offensive production. I mean, the usage rate of him is just, I mean, it's James Harden-esque. We're talking about football.
What do we know about Ron Rivera? He doesn't care. He goes to his best player. If that's Cam Newton run the football, then doggone it, he's going to run it. I don't care. So, point being, though, that's the only thing that scares me, though. Everything else lines up to me for Green Bay, and this one is a 5.5-point favorite at home. I'm going to take the Packers.
I thought that you saw definitive weakness in the Packers last week when you talk about speed, edge guys. I mean, the Chargers were just moving Melvin Ingram and Joey Bosa all around. They were playing them opposite, bookended each other. They were playing them on the same side. They were twisting with them. And Green Bay's offensive line is good, actually very good. David Bakhtiari and Brian Bulaga are both very good.
Yep.
And those guys got owned. It's a totally different matchup with Carolina. They run the odd man front. They have, Gerald McCoy and Dontario Poe. They're the big, strong guys, the bull rusher type guys, not the speed guys. I think that's actually a great matchup for Green Bay. And I think that because of that, then I think that Aaron Rodgers can be able to slice and dice. I got Devontae Adams presumably going to be a step healthier this week too.
I mean, people said he didn't look good. Nobody looked good on
Aaron Jones
Sunday.
Looked bad. Jamal Williams looked
Aaron
bad.
Jones, what happened? It was a no-show. So
Totally.
it was bad. So I think at home you bounce back, and this is one they need because their schedule gets tougher certainly on the back end. All right, Minnesota, Dallas, Sunday night football. Your Vikings against the Cowboys in Big D.
I just think that the Vikings are better. I got the Vikings.
See, now you did this last week and it did work out for you.
I couldn't watch the Vikings game last week. It was making me so mad. It was not on anywhere, and I couldn't get the stream or anything to work.
I watched it, and it was very Minnesota-esque, them losing that football game at the end, down to the wire with the lead, and then just giving it up.
Well, I think the Chiefs, even without Patrick Mahomes, I don't think the Cowboys are that good. I think they're all right.
You know what I think? I think that exact same thing about both of these teams.
Nah, you're wrong.
I think it about both of these teams. I think this is a very even matchup.
On the bottom of the ladder of the really good teams in the NFL.
I think this is a good matchup. I think Dallas is actually a little better than what you just said, and I think Minnesota is a little worse than what you think they are, which means I think that these two teams are almost equal. I mean, I see these two teams as equals. The fact that it's in Dallas says go Dallas. Minnesota really needs it, though.
They do.
This is a hard game for me to pick, man.
It is a hard game to pick.
At -3, I think I'm going to take Minnesota just because I do think they're so even. So even if they lose, it could be a 1-2 point game. I'll go with the Vikings with you against the number here. I think this is a pick'em game.
It's pretty funny that I always hate on Dak Prescott, but the Cowboys have a definitive advantage at quarterback.
I mean,
it's so funny, too, though, that I've been ragging on Kirk Cousins, and then he had the best quarterback rating in a single month in NFL history last month.
All right, so we want to talk about some high school stuff because we're going into a playoff weekend. We want to get you set for the weekend on ESPN Radio. There's some home basketball openers for the Cats and Grizz this weekend, and we obviously got our 2-minute matchup. But what do you want to talk about on this? Oh, by the way, let's do this real quick. It's brought to us by Katie O'Keefe's. Okay, picks against the spread.
We'll talk about this next week.
329-1899. Call right now. You got yourself a $25 bar tab to Katie O'Keefe's. You go in there. They got the whole left side of their bar opened up, and it is beautiful in there. You can play pool, play darts, do the whole thing. Sit, watch the ponies, watch the football games, and now you can go in there and enjoy a couple of cold ones on Katie O'Keefe's. 329-1899. They're there in the Stevens Shopping Center. Great spot, man. Kind of a little bit of a neighborhood deal, a little hideaway. You don't really know about it, but when you walk in there, you go, "Oh wow!" I mean, you and I have been in there multiple times, and it's like
probably we'll be going there soon.
Hey! I mean, you never know when we're going to arrive wherever we arrive. So anyway, 329-1899. We appreciate Katie O'Keefe's being a part of this thing and helping us with the picks against the spread. We'll take a quick break. We'll come back. We'll wrap up the week. We'll see what we're able to get to. We'll definitely have the 2-minute mashup for you right after this.
Katie O'Keefe's has been a neighborhood favorite in the corner of the Stevens Center for years. But if you haven't been into Katie's lately, come on in and make sure to turn left. The downstairs bar is completely remodeled with one of the biggest, best spaces anywhere in Missoula to watch games, play games, and hang out with all your friends. Katie O'Keefe's is your horse racing simulcast headquarters in Missoula. Come into Katie's and turn left for cribbage, darts, pool, and much, much more. Katie O'Keefe's, where the cocktails are always cold and the people are always friendly.
This is Mike Nugent with Berkshire Hathaway Home Services. Berkshire Hathaway provides Western Montana with full-time real estate professionals for you whenever you need us. Our reputation as the state's most knowledgeable and available real estate group has helped build unmatched trust in the Garden City and statewide. If you have been thinking of making a real estate move in the short or long term, give me a call. No pressure, no expectations. Just professional opinions and service at whatever pace you are comfortable with. Give me, Mike Nugent, a call today, 531-1802. And remember, every question is good to ask.
Thank you for making Polaris America's best-selling off-road brand. During the Polaris Great American Thank You event, financing is as low as 3.99% and rebates go as high as $3,500. Live life wide open in a high-performance RZR. Tackle everything from mountains to mud holes in a legendary Sportsman ATV. Get more done with a hard-working Ranger or elevate your adventure in a versatile Polaris General. Now is the time to get the season's best deals on America's best-selling off-road lineup with financing as low as 3.99%, APR for 36 months, and rebates up to $3,500 during the Polaris Great American Thank You at Kurtz Polaris, 2904 West Broadway in Missoula and Highway 83 in Sealy. All the best machines, gear, apparel, and accessories to enjoy winter this year are at Kurtz. Go check out their 2020 snowmobile inventory right now and all the clothing, helmets, gloves, hats, and jackets to keep you safe, warm, and looking great at Kurtz Polaris and KurtzPolaris.com. Rebates valid in U.S. through 12/31/19 on new 2016 through 2020 vehicles. Subject to credit approval. Offers vary by model. See dealer for details. Always wear a helmet. Never drink and ride.
Have you been in an accident and have no idea what to do? I'm here with Catherine from the Advocates Injury Attorneys.
Unfortunately, people are injured in accidents every day, and dealing with the insurance company can add even more pain to an already bad situation. That is where hiring the Advocates can help. Let us guide you through the process and take on the hassles for you so you can just focus on getting better.
If you've been injured in an accident, give the Advocates a call, 406-640-4444, or online at montanaadvocates.com. The Advocates are on your side.
Americans waste 3.8 million gallons of gas by idling every single day. Idling for more than 10 seconds actually uses more fuel and produces more emissions than stopping and restarting your engine.
Vehicle exhaust contributes to smog, climate change, and poor air quality, heightening the risk of developing asthma and lung disease. Kids and seniors are especially vulnerable to these health risks.
So next time you're stopped for more than 10 seconds at the train, getting coffee, or picking your child up from school, please turn your vehicle off.
Brought to you by Missoula in Motion.
Tutel and Nuanez on 102.9 ESPN Radio for Missoula.
Boys and girls, you might be enjoying your weekend right now. We're going to be joining you soon. Well, heck, I'm enjoying myself. Are you kidding me? It's nice when you don't work for a living. You know what I mean? You just play around on the radio. Nobody appreciates how hard it is to tell Nuanez 102.9 ESPN Radio, SWX Montana Television. Thanks for letting us be with you on this Friday afternoon as we head into a Grizzly-Idaho rivalry weekend and a Montana State-Northern Colorado non-rivalry weekend. Broadcasting live from the Kurtz Polaris Studios. Kurtz Polaris at 2904 West Broadway in Missoula. Saturday, December 7th, one day only. The 7th annual snow day. Make sure you're there. Kurtz Polaris, the best sale of the year, December 7th. If you missed anything in the show, check it out on the podcast. Podcast available wherever you get your podcasts. It's there thanks to the Wingate by Wyndham Hotel. And also, right now, you got, 18 hours where this is still valid. FCS Speculators, a betting podcast. It's available wherever you get your Tutel and Nuanez podcast. That is to say, everywhere. So go get it, listen to it, and enjoy, okay? From us to you, it is our gift. Okay, we got our 2-minute mashup coming up here, but we got a couple minutes. So, Coulter, what do we want to fire through? Because we got a couple of life things that we want to get through here.
I think it's worth noting that both the Montana schools for basketball open their home slates. Not necessarily thrilling opponents, but the chance for fans around both Missoula and Bozeman to see the basketball teams. Grizz Hoops host Montana State Northern on Sunday, and
2:00 Sunday tip-off from Dahlberg Arena against MSU Northern for the Grizz, and tomorrow the Montana State Bobcats men's team. If you're in Bozeman, you watch it, whatever you're around, you watch the Cat game at noon on SWX Montana Television. You head on down to the stadium to Worthington Arena, and you watch Rocky Mountain play Montana State, and the home debut for Danny Sprinkle as the head coach.
I've been really thinking about this Danny Sprinkle thing, and Travis DeCuire is coaching at his alma mater, to be certain, but DeCuire coached at such a high level, having coached at Cal before he came to Missoula,
right?
And I don't know, it's a very unique dynamic and a very, I think, cool thing that Danny Sprinkle's at Montana State, because he really is he's a Montanan.
Sure, he's from Helena.
I mean, it's been a long time. I guess Mick Durham was a Montana guy coaching Montana State, but I mean, it's
well. And who did Mick Durham coach?
Danny Sprinkle.
Exactly.
I know. It's a rarer and rarer thing that you get a guy who's actually from Montana that gets to be the head coach of one of the schools. Bobby Hauck is that. I think it's just a very special thing. Like, I really do think that a new coach opening up their first game, no matter who it might be, is an event and a moment and a earmark in the tenure and the history of a coach. But like, they're just playing, quote unquote, just playing Rocky Mountain tomorrow. They're just playing a Frontier Conference school. Well, it's going to be a sweet moment for Danny Sprinkle.
And I'm glad for all those reasons that it's a Montana school. It's totally. Your Rocky Mountain in there. 4:00, Brick Breeden Fieldhouse tomorrow afternoon, so you can go check that out. Coulter, quickly, let's touch. We've talked about this in the news briefs, but it is the quarterfinals of the state football playoffs, basically at every classification. Some huge games in Missoula tonight. The Sentinel Spartans hosting Billings Senior, so obviously a huge game for them. Billings Seniors who beat Hellgate last week to get to this point, and because of the head-to-heads, Sentinel getting to the 2 seed instead of being the 3 or even the 4, where they share a record with both of those teams, absolutely huge for Sentinel. So 360 miles or whatever it is from Billings to Sentinel. They don't got to drive it. They're sitting here waiting, and then even next weekend, if they're good enough to win tonight, it'll be a semifinal state championship game in Missoula. But the Billings Senior is a good football team in their own right, and the Dane Oliver and his club have their hands full for sure.
It's a historic accomplishment for Sentinel. There's only been 2 teams in the last 25 years that have gotten the 2 seed, and that was Levi Janicaro's Big Sky Eagles 2 years ago. I guess 2 or 3 years ago, 2 years ago, and Missoula Sentinel this year. And ironically, Sentinel knocked out Big Sky that year in the first round of the playoffs.
But if you're hanging out in Missoula, hour from right now, kicking it off at Missoula County Stadium over there at Big Sky High, just go to the game. It's a great night for football. Not that cold. It's beautiful. It's perfect. Go watch a doggone high school playoff football game.
Sentinel predictably probably should handle Billings Senior pretty well tonight.
Watch Jackson Lee play, do the whole thing.
The other two, the top 2 teams in the East, they're going to have their hands full at the Helena schools. I mean, Capital's a 60, they're good. And I actually think that Capital's better than Helena High, just in terms of talent, even though they finished a spot behind them. Mm-hmm. And Bozeman's good, Helena High's good. I mean, those are going to be good games for sure. In the Class A playoffs, state championship rematch, Hamilton versus Billings Central. Hamilton gets a chance to get some redemption after losing the state championship game a year ago. And the Frenchtown Miles City game is fascinating because the East was nowhere close to as good as the West in Class A this year.
Right.
But Miles City's been out there in the East owning it. They're undefeated. They're the only undefeated team in the classification. And Frenchtown having to get on a bus and go 510 miles. It's a long way.
That's why it's called Miles City, bud. There's a lot of them to get there. It's going to be a great weekend, and on Monday, Tuesday, we will certainly recap everything that's happened, and we will be keeping a very close eye on all of this.
Cool too that some of the best players in our area are still remaining alive in the playoffs too. And Jackson Lee, Missoula Sentinel, is an outstanding player. The kids at Billings West, Josh Erbacher and DeMarcus Carr, are awesome. Jace Kluswich at Frenchtown, Carson Rostad, the quarterback at Hamilton. I mean, there's some real deal high level talent still playing in the playoffs as well. So if you need something to do on a Friday night, go check it out. I mean, obviously you're not going to drive to Miles City right now, but tomorrow Hamilton would be a good one. If you're not going to the Grizz game,
right.
And obviously tonight Missoula County Public Stadium. I mean, it'd be pretty cool if there was a couple playoff games in Missoula County Public Stadium. It's been a while since there's been multiple playoff games in 1 year in Missoula.
We like to have ourselves a little fun around these parts, if you're aware of that, on this here show. We like to end on a high note every week. David, doing a work all day long, putting together the Two Tell Nuanez 2-minute mashup. If you haven't heard it yet, can't wait for it. Here we go.
Bruce Barnum's dying to be on this show.
Hello, Montana.
The Missoula Pioneer League baseball team is now the Paddleheads. Vice president, who has been long-standing with the team here, Matt Ellis.
We're the only paddlehead out there, and that's special to us.
What is a paddlehead?
It is a slang term for a moose.
Moose is bigger than a bird. You get it like that?
These are like the 5 hats in the city of Missoula that will fit my head right here.
Paul Caputo, who writes for sportslogos.net.
Osprey meant nothing to me. I think they knocked it out of the park.
Owner of the Missoula Paddleheads, Peter Davis.
If they hate us, they're still going to know we're here. Southern Utah sucks.
Don't sit here and tease me.
It was the most boring game I've ever watched in my career.
The reality is that this is another game that Montana State should go down and hammer Northern Colorado.
I care so little that I haven't even looked.
Nice to see you.
Idaho was the cream of the crop in the Big Sky in the 80s.
It's been a big game in these parts for decades.
Grizz cornerback Justin Calhoun.
They said that's our rival, and I agree, that's our rival. My second time playing in it, so it'll be fun.
When the word rival is used in regard to us, that's others' words, not ours.
By the way, boys will laugh at girls when they are funny, too.
He looks nowhere close to a D1 athlete because he's tiny.
He's tough.
It reeks of nepotism as being Paul Petrino's son.
Jeff Cotton, an outstanding player for Idaho, and he's good enough to join us.
No matter who's in, I'm confident in them, and I'm confident in myself. It's just my job to catch it.
I think he's their best player on offense.
I know it's going to be a packed crowd on Saturday, and so hopefully we just come out with the win.
Some teams are losers.
As far as the playoff rankings, I'd probably have Montana State at 10. But I don't think that they have enough quality wins.
The FCS and their institutions don't just have money to fly everybody, every week to a place.
If you're going to do it, I think you need to do it multiple times.
Give it to me.
They could go as high as 3 and as low as out of it. I think if the Grizz win this week, they secure a playoff spot. Both the Montana schools control their own destinies.
Coulter, what do you know about me? The only thing I care about is myself.
I am some woman who lives in the middle of nowhere, Ohio.
I'm pleased to say I get free salsa.
Probably going to rip wins from you for the 33 cents of free tomato and onion paste.
At this point, might as well send it. Huh?
Breakfast burritos are tough to beat.
Cocktails.
I wonder how many burritos a week he's at.
On a gamble? Let's roll.
You wrap it in a tortilla, I'm going to be pretty happy.
Coco, I did it.
Good, man.
I met Sonny Holland, the real life Sonny Holland.
That's right. Your little nephew. Meeting Sonny Holland. David, once again, excellent work.
Excellent transitions.
Get that whole thing set up and out there for you to enjoy throughout the course of the week. Boys and girls, over the weekend on ESPN Radio. Again, tomorrow we're on the air at 11:15 with the pregame show. Then after the game with the postgame show. Then how about Iowa State, Oklahoma? Couple of games. Doubleheader on Sunday. Giants, Jets, Steelers, Rams for you on Sunday on ESPN Radio. Enjoy the games this weekend. We'll catch you tomorrow morning. Good night.
Counting backwards.
Here at Florence Coffee Company, we developed our medium roast coffee beans to make consistently smooth and delicious coffee drinks. You can take the beans home yourself so you can have Florence coffee anytime. Pick up a pound of whole bean or ground for only $12. Better yet, if you bring your own cup, we'll give you a 12